This week I am in Groningen, back in Groningen. I was last here in May 2016, I think it was, but back at the Protestant Theological University, and we have a conference this week on notions of home and homecoming in theology and in society. And maybe just to begin this video by asking you, what is your concept of home? What does home mean to you? And I realized that home is not always something that's positive or constructive. The African feminist theologian Mercy Amba Odoyoye questions or troubles notions of home by saying that, particularly for African women, but for many other women around the world, home can often be a place of abuse, a space in which they are subjugated to the needs and desires of men, often robbed of their freedom in society. But of course, for many other people, home is a place of belonging, of safety, of flourishing, of security. And I wonder what our notion of home is, particularly as a theological concept. We've been thinking about it. One of the quotes which was used this morning by Professor Fritz de Lange comes from Thomas Merton, who speaks about the sense that we journey through our lives to come home to the place that Jesus has been preparing for us, that we are journeying towards a notion of home, where there is that place of belonging, that sense of wholeness, of blessing. Another notion that we reflected on this morning is the fact that very often home is that place where we actually host the Lord who is incarnate, the Christ who comes to us. So I wonder if you were to think about this notion of home in your own life, in your own theology, in terms of church, how would you construct it theologically? I'd love to hear from you. Remember, this is not a lecture, just a thought. My own paper is speaking about troubling notions of forgiveness in unhomeliness and homemaking, looking at the work of Homi Baba, the notion of unhomeliness, that very often we inhabit liminal and transient spaces. My friend Helgard Pretorius this morning said liminality, of course, is something that has to do with boundaries, with thresholds, that we cannot live at the threshold, but that a space without thresholds, a home without doors and gates through which we need to move, could become a prison, and that very often we need to traverse the boundaries to move beyond them. So my paper thinks a little bit around these issues, Homi Baba's notion of unhomeliness. What does it mean not to be home? But also the work of Jürgen Moltmann and the social trinity, the notion that the making of home is something which we find in the very life of God, that the persons of the Trinity empty themselves for one another in order to create space for the identities to flourish and exist alongside each other, and that in fact the identity of the self is enriched through the identity of the other that gives us space. So I'd love to hear your thoughts. I'm on my way to the souvenir shop at the University of Groningen to go and buy a souvenir for Megan and for Courtney, something for Liam. I'll just let that truck pass, just to remember this wonderful, wonderful space here in the Netherlands. So thanks for watching. As always, I'd love to hear from you. You can hook up with me at Digital Dion on Facebook, on Twitter or on Instagram, or on my Facebook page. Just search for Dion Forster or Dion A. Forster. It will show up, or on my website, dionforster.com. So thanks for watching.